Sierra Nevada Brewing Company brings our next guest to the phone, Nacho Leber, Ben Leber. If you have questions for him, the usual place to find him is available, the Bradshaw and Bryant KFAN text line at 64686. I guess you could tweet directly at him, Nacho Leber as well, whatever works for you. Ben, why did we lose to the Baltimore Ravens 27-19 yesterday afternoon?
Oh, boy. If you really want to simplify it, they had 13 points off of our 3 gives, and we had 0 points off of our 0 takes.
Yeah.
So I would say right there, that's the game.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying that you can't go into every game and expect not to turn the ball over at least once, especially playing a pretty, at least recently, a better playing defense. But yeah, that's kind of what it boils down to. And then obviously there's the stuff with the false starts and all the other things. But that was all in an effort to try to claw our way back into the game. But yeah, it was kind of the turnovers.
Certainly didn't help, that's for sure. I felt like early, Baltimore seemed sluggish. I thought our defense was playing well. Obviously, we had the first good scoring drive. That, we didn't sustain that. But when I looked up at the scoreboard, the old cliche, and you see you're winning, but it's 10-9, that to me is largely where I felt like the game might have been lost. Because I felt on the basis of the body of work and the feel that the Vikings should have been further ahead at the half when they were, because I didn't think Jackson looked particularly dynamic. Certainly as dynamic as he can look, running and throwing the ball. But I felt it shouldn't be 10. If it's 10-9, that's got to be a little bit scary.
Yeah, I was actually surprised by the 10-9 because I went into the game. I had convinced myself that it was going to be a higher scoring game, a much higher scoring game. Based off of the momentum that we had from Detroit, based on what I, thought I knew about Baltimore. And look, I want to give our defense a lot of credit because they played well enough to win. But I think going into the game, it was more of man, they got this 2-headed monster thing. They got some pretty good receivers. I was thinking this is going to be a 28-24 type of victory for us. And it was kind of a slugfest, in that first half. And I look back on it now, though, and I think that Todd Monken, the offensive coordinator for the Ravens, kind of took the very intentional approach of we don't have to be explosive.
Mm-hmm.
Let's just take care of the football. Let's move the chains. Of course, they want some of those runs to hit a little bit more, but we did a great job kind of bottling everything up, aside from a couple big plays. But I don't think that they tried to stretch the field.
No,
I don't think they wanted to take any shots. I don't think they wanted to put Lamar in a 5 or 7 step drop. I think it was very intentional about the methodical nature of their game plan, and it ended up working out.
Why weren't we more methodical with the running game?
Well, I think a lot has to do with just the game sequence gets away from us a little bit with all the false starts.
Yeah, that's true.
Now 4 of those false starts took place in the fourth quarter, and I'm not sure that we're much of a running team so much in the fourth quarter when we don't have a lead. But
right.
I think it did throw us off, play calling wise, and so many of them happen on first down. And it's if we want to get the second manageable, I don't know if we need to run the football here. Again, although hindsight, we finished the game, I think, between both of our backs. You take away McCarthy's scrambling, we were running for 5.7 yards a run.
That's right.
So that's pretty darn good.
It's very good, actually. I agree. On the false starts, again, different reasons. The company line is everybody needs to look internally, and everybody contributed to it. But you're not going to tell me, or maybe you will, that the number one reason is not that the way the quarterback handled the cadence. To me, it's too much of a coincidence to think that suddenly you got a bunch of people, including your right tackle, who are not exactly known for that kind of thing, that were getting confused, whether it was they thought the ball was being snapped at one of those huts, or that they didn't know that JJ was going to try to change the play again. That's got to be a big piece of this, doesn't it?
It feels like that. The thing is, though, I heard KOC's presser today, and, he's like, look, it just there wasn't a smoking gun, and it wasn't just about the one thing. It's mystifying for sure when you have, veteran guys doing it, especially O'Neal, who did it twice. And the one that I can't figure out is how often do you see the quarterback false starting?
Yeah.
You know, when the quarterback gets called for a false start, it's like, okay, where's the disconnect with what he's calling in the huddle, what he thinks when he thinks the ball is going to come out on whatever call or cadence, and then all other 10 guys don't move. It's like, okay, something's really off, you know, in the huddle, in the design of the play calls or something for this particular game. Maybe they had certain checks. Maybe they changed up the code word that they wanted to use for this particular game. Maybe they had some insight on the Ravens, kind of knew something about their cadence or whatever. They're going to try to get off on the ball a little quicker. So maybe they changed up stuff that they hadn't done in the past. So I don't know what it is. I'm confident that they're going to get it figured out by the Chicago game because it has to. We can't play that sloppy before the balls even start.
Does Jefferson have to make that catch on what I thought was one of McCarthy's better throws over the middle near the end, near the goal line?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it was a dart, came with some hot sauce on it, but if you want to be the best in the world, and I think he is, you got to make that catch. It's a tough catch. Don't get me wrong. I mean, you got
it is a tough
defender
catch
on your back,
yeah.
And you see the receiver, you see the safety. There's some color there that possibly could blow you up, you know. But you know, you've got to focus in on that ball coming in pretty hot and make that catch. So yeah, I think he's got to make that grab.
Some of the Jackals, including our 4 o'clock guest, Johnny Athletic, very unsettled by what they thought was some not great body language from Jefferson after the INTs in terms of effort. Now, one of those, I think he knew was down by contact, which I think Johnny acknowledged and others have as well. I don't know. I have a hard time getting too worked up on that. If I'm bothered by anything about JJ, I thought it was more he was in the one of those modes yesterday where he was looking for PI calls almost every time he went out in a pattern. But as a former player, would you be bugged if you sensed that a teammate on offense doesn't seem all that interested in trying to, you know, bring the interceptor down, or are we making too much of this?
I honestly think we're making too much of it. I mean, it's not even something I noticed during the game. You know, that 50-50 ball that was thrown in zero coverage. I mean, I saw it clear as day that even though he was running, I'm like, well, he's down by contact. He's just wasting energy right now.
Right, yeah.
Like I know that he probably didn't hear the whistle, and maybe there wasn't a whistle, but I'm like, it's very obvious that he hit him actually in midair when he made that play, and so he's down by contact. So I understand that one. Like, why give all this extra effort when I know that he's down? 100% he's down. The other one, you know, it's thrown into double coverage, and you know, I never thought that there was a lack of effort. You know, maybe some body language that's unbecoming of Justin Jefferson, but. Look, man, he's built up so much equity. He's such a dog when it comes to his effort and the way that he goes out there and is such a pro, and it's such a good role model for everybody on that team that no, he's got to show me a lot more egregiousness than what they're talking about right now, and he's got to do it for a longer period of time before I'm on that team, you know, starting to question whether his effort's there and his focus is there.
763 guy asks me to ask you what you thought of the Vikings time management under 2 minutes before the half. We got the ball, squandered the time, handed it back for a way too easy field goal to make it 10-9. What do you think?
Yeah, I would agree with that. You know, if I can remember off the top of my head, I think we had a minute 11 left to go in the first half. We get the ball with 2 timeouts. At the end of that drive, that sequence, I think only 32 seconds of game clock had went off the board there. So, yeah, I mean, every coach talks about it. We've heard KOC talk about it. You got to win that middle 8, that 4 minutes at the end of the first half and the 4 minutes at the start of the second half, and that's those moments where you need to own that middle 8, and you need to go down there with the score, use up all of your time. Don't allow the Ravens to even have a possession in which they went down and scored 3 points on. And then you want to get the ball back. That's the whole reason why you defer. You want to get the ball back at the start of the second half and own that possession as well and hopefully get some points. And we've seen it. We've been on both sides of it, but that is a momentum shifter. I mean, that changes the game plan. If they go down there, let's say they get a touchdown, there's 14 points on the board in a span of a couple minutes.
that changes their approach and now puts them on their heels a little bit defensively. And now it puts them a little bit of aggressiveness that they didn't want to have in the second half offensively. So, yeah, I think if KOC had to do it all over again, sure, he'd love to have that end of first half back.
Oh, you're correct. 1:11 left. We get the ball back. McCarthy hits Addison for 5 to put us on the Vikings 40. Incomplete pass deep left to Addison, and then incomplete pass short to the right-hand side as well. So now it's we're punting with 40 seconds to go on 4th and 5. And they ultimately go 4 plays, 63 yards pretty quickly. The big play was the Flowers short pass to the left, right? That Flowers turned into a very big play for 27 yards. That's what kind of opened the door. And then the gift they got was the personal foul roughing the passer penalty on Dallas Turner, which was the classic where you got to find a way to move to the side. In fact, I think we got that call a week ago in a game, and that obviously put them in prime field goal position as well. So it's 10-9 coming out for the second half. How did you feel? So we get the ball to start the second, as you said, and we get the running game going early. And then it's after, I think, a run and a pass. It's going to be 3rd and 1, and that was the fateful pick where I think JJ stumbled, Jefferson stumbled, and that ball was intercepted. And the head coach has said, "Look, I threw it on 3rd down because I knew we were going for it, and I had a run called for 4th down." Do you believe him?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I totally believe him. I mean, I think that was the plan all along for what he was thinking as far as a play caller goes, but. The one area that, I don't particularly love is the fact that, yes, you got a favorable pass situation in that there was zero coverage, and you're like, okay, it was really like 3rd and less than a yard.
Yes.
And it's like, okay, we've got 2 downs to go 1 yard. Why don't we take a shot here where if we get the coverage that we're looking for, yeah, all day long, we should be able to trust Justin Jefferson in that situation. But then if you don't, though, Now it's the same situation, but even worse. Like, of course, everybody's going to be packed up against the line, thinking that you're going to run forward. Isn't that a better situation to throw the football in?
Right.
So, you can talk about it both ways. Mm-hmm. It's like, yeah, you've got a favorable passing down on 3rd and 1, but don't you have an even better passing down on 4th and 1 when everybody's now pulled into the line of scrimmage and you're showing probably run. So, like, I don't know. I think, again, we have the beauty of hindsight. I would much rather in that game situation have wanted to control the game a little bit more, move the chains.
I agree. Yeah.
Find some sort of rhythm, go with a run play on 3rd and 1. And then if you don't get it, go again.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
You have 2 downs to get 6 inches. If you can't do it with these new offensive linemen that you brought in and a brand new rookie left guard that's kind of a road grader, I mean, then you got some real problems that you can't get 6 inches in 2 plays on a downhill run. So I'd much rather be talking about that than a change of possession.
Well, we don't even like to run on 3rd and 3, and it's okay to run on 3rd and 3. In fact, there's a lot of teams that do it, including, frankly, the team they're going to play this week, the Bears. They're not afraid to run on 2nd and 10 to get, okay, well, maybe we'll get 5. Maybe we'll get 6. And not all teams are built the same way. I understand that part of it, too. But I thought there were enough good signs. And, I mean, Jones looks fresh as hell. Now, again, I know he can get hurt and just did again last week, but he looked awfully fresh to me. Do we have a tush push anymore? We don't anymore, do we?
Our team?
Yeah.
You talking about our team specifically?
Yeah, our team specifically. Do we have that in our arsenal anymore? I feel like we tried it a year or two ago, but haven't since.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think if we've tried it, it really hasn't been all that successful.
Yeah.
The type of play that I think would work, I mean, shoot, Patrick Ricard, they ran it on us on a short yard. It's just I formation. It's a quick belly dive right down the middle with your big fullback. I mean,
I love that play.
CJ Ham, he's a former running back. I don't know if we've heard of him before, but he's back from injury. I think he's fully capable of plowing ahead, whether he's getting a push from the backside to pick up less than 1 yard. But yeah, there are definitely some plays out there that could get us that yard.
So McCarthy, again, he had the first drive was excellent. He had a lot of miscues, a lot of errant balls as well. Do you see any pattern? Is it he gets sped up, or he has trouble if he's moving around a little bit, or is it just, okay, this is just part of the process with him? Is there any constant to when he seems to lose accuracy?
No, I mean, I can't really put a finger on it. I don't think we have a big enough sample size quite yet. I mean, I think that there's plays. Shoot, the touchdown to Hawkinson last game, that was a scramble to the right.
True.
It seemed like he was under duress, and you'd think that his mind is moving very fast and his body's clearly in motion, and he's able to throw a dart right between the numbers on, kind of a throw that you'd be like, you threw that back to the middle of the field. Like, just be careful, So, no, I can't pinpoint any specific moments. I definitely think that, every first-time starter in their fourth game, still has a process that's being sped up maybe quicker than you'd like. You don't see a lot of vets. I mean, you look at Aaron Rodgers even from last night, even though wasn't getting a lot of protection and, they didn't do much offensively, but when he rolls out and he has to scramble, there's urgency. There doesn't seem to be panic. And I think there's a big difference between the two. And again, that comes from experience and, 10,000 live reps sort of thing. So he'll get there. I definitely have faith that JJ's going to get there, and he's shown enough arm talent to make some certain throws. I think once he calms his body down, he'll be much more accurate.
Hop Splash player of the game for Ben Leber?
Hop Splash, Sierra Nevada's Hop Splash player of the game. I'm cheating, okay? Dan, I'm going to cheat. I'm going to go with both of our inside linebackers, Cashman and Eric Wilson. And again, for this award, it's for things that don't show up in the stat books. They went out last week and played an athletic style of defense. And this week, they had to bow up and play a physical brand of football. And I thought they met that on perfectly. Yes, they had some runs, but, you got to take on a big old fullback that's dang near 300 pounds, leading the way behind a 255-pound running back. Man, there was one particular play. Eric Wilson came screaming down a hill in the red zone, took on Ricard, bounced off of him, and was the first to make contact with Derrick Henry. I mean, I saw multiple plays where they were taking on the fullback and keeping themselves alive. So I thought they really did a good job of stepping up, shutting down the run for the most part. It never really got out the gate. It felt out of control. Jonathan Allen, I thought, played really well against the run as well. But for this award, I'm going to give it to those two guys.
Who was the running back in your career that you absolutely despised having to tackle?
The bus, man. I had to play against Jerome Bettis.
Yeah, the bus.
Nightmare fuel right there. I talked to those two linebackers after the game, and I was like, how was it playing against that big dude? They're like, not that bad. As long as you don't let him get going downhill and you get that big stiff arm, you can get low enough to take his legs out. I think Cashman did that a couple times as well. But and they're right. He's so long-legged and high-hipped that, if you get to him before he starts chugging, you can bring him down. I mean, the bus was just so low. He ran with such good pad level that it's like, I mean, the only way to get lower than him is to torpedo, but then you have to lose your feet.
Yeah.
And if you don't time it up, he's just going to step over the top of you. So he was a load, man.
Yeah, that's a good name. I haven't thought about him in a long, long time. He was a hell of a running back for sure.
Well, that just goes back to how long ago I played. Jeez,
that's true.
I played a long time.
It has been a while, has it not? Yeah.
It has.
So we got the Bears. We got the NFC North news. The Packers are hosting the Eagles tonight. That will be of interest, I think, to Vikings fans and NFC North fans. And then we got the Bears coming in next week. I will tell you that I've continued to disparage the Bears pretty much every week, that I didn't trust them as they got to 5-3. There's still a part of me that's not sure I trust them as a 6-3 team because they have played the easiest part of their easy schedule. It's about to get tougher, I think, within the division the rest of the way. On the other hand, I got to acknowledge that with Ben Johnson, he has figured out a way with this QB to open the door to him making some pretty ridiculous comebacks late. Now, again, not against great defenses, but they found a way to do it. So, to me, this falls under the classification of this is not a game you can mess around with at all, given the Vikings' position and given probably the Bears, whether they're real or not, have gained a little bit of confidence in the fact that they're sitting there at 6-3.
Well, you just said the word that I was going to use myself. I mean, it's confidence. I don't think most players really look at the strength of schedule the way that the fans do.
Probably true.
They're not saying, "Oh, I'm going to discredit this win or this winning streak because we just haven't played great teams." I mean, you take these wins and it fuels you. It motivates you. In their case, the way that they're able to come from behind, the way that they're able to watch their playmaker at quarterback go out there and make plays, like it's all just building confidence. It's all just another building block to their whole season and what they want to build from not this year but beyond. And that's the one thing that it does worry me. We're still trying to figure out where we sit, and they probably feel like, hey, we're very comfortable with where we are, and we like this game plan. We like what we can do. We know that division games are tougher. They're a different animal, and they got to come into our place with our fans. And you look at it from the positive things from our game, is that you can fix self-inflicted wounds. It's frustrating for us to walk away from the Ravens game feeling like it's a game that we lost versus a game that the Ravens won. But to have that comfort knowing that these are fixable problems, and if we just fix some of these very easy correctable things into the next game, we're still a hell of a football team.
Yeah.
I think it'd be different if we walked in and it was playing the Ravens and it felt like the Chargers game and we're soul searching and we're like, whoa, what just happened? Like, we don't even know where to begin because everything went bad because they were just way better than us on this particular day. So I'm not super concerned about where we are. I know that we're going to figure it out, and I know that we're going to bring some extra juice because it's a division game.
We'll finish with this. This is from 763 guy. Nacho, it goes without saying, can break down a game like no one else. So the fans are still out there in your favor. If your own confidence was at all wavering, and I'm not here to suggest it was, that might be the confidence boost you're looking for. A text out of nowhere giving you great credit for the way you break down a game.
Oh man, that does make me feel really good. I was having one of those like moon days.
Yeah, I understand.
You're having a moon day, and it happens to the best of us.
No doubt.
I was having one of those days, and for no real reason. It's just so man. Thank you. Who was that again?
763 guy. Yeah, he doesn't have a name, but I just go with the area code. Yeah, I think it's 763. Yeah. Let's be clear. Yep, 763 guy. So he wins you win him over, and maybe you feel a little bit better about yourself the rest of the afternoon and evening. See, there it goes.
763 guy, I'm going to give you a virtual hug right now.
That's it.
We'll hug it out. I appreciate it.
That's all you can ask for. Have a wonderful week, and we will talk to you next week. Thanks, man.
All right, and Dan, I promise you I'll give you a real hug the next time I see you.
I got no problems with that. You know that. I don't even remember the last time I've seen you. Now that's my fault.
I know.
I never go to games.
You just avoid me all the time.
I never go to games. That's the problem. That's the jackals are on me for that. But maybe this is the week. Bears week. Maybe. Who knows? We'll see. It's possible.
Yeah.
Thanks, man.
All right, man. Thank you.
Nacho, Ben Leber, kind enough to join us. Let's get to another very saucy Vikings talking point, and then we'll prepare to talk air travel, because there's a lot to get to there. It's a very timely subject with Thrifty Traveler guy Kyle Potter. He is scheduled for 5:30.
And now, famous moments in a
kick-ass offense.
All right, well, let's flip the script on that, score a lot of points, and actually win the game.
Really? They're going to... Okay, McCarthy now with the false start. Really?
False start by the offense, number 9. It's 5-yard penalty. It's first down.
Join us again for another famous moment in a
kick-ass offense.
To it, and I always like to call this particular subject in a throwback and homage to the salad days at the Metrodome.
2 men in the junk truck, by the way. Want to give you $1,000 in your hand?
Oh,
Bonus
sorry.
bucks? No, that's okay. $1,000. I should have done it coming back. $1,000 is the final keyword of the night. KFAN.com, keyword $1,000. Salad days, Metronome.
Walks will haunt.
It's 3rd and 6 for the Vikings. 3 of 5 on 3rd down. Kyle Hamilton threatens blitz from the front side of McCarthy. Then he backs off. JJ takes the snap, throws deep. Right side, Jefferson intercepted. Malachi Starks. Here he comes to the 25-30. Angles to the middle of the field to the 40. Jordan Addison runs him down from behind at the 47-yard line. 5th interception this year for J.J. McCarthy, and he floated that one up there too much. Picked off by rookie Malachi Starks, who now has 2 interceptions this year. This is 3rd and short. 2 tight ends, they're balanced, offset eye right. McCarthy on 3rd and 1's going to pass from under center. He's going to go deep. Jefferson fell, and Marlon Humphrey picked it off at the 5-yard line. The veteran Marlon Humphrey heads up the field, lazily to the 15. Now he sprints 20-25. And J.J. McCarthy has thrown 2 interceptions. He's sprinting over to the sideline. There's the loop kick. Here comes Miles Price to the 5-10, 15. He dropped the ball at the 22-yard line. Miles Price, second fumble this year at the 22, may give the Ravens the ball and very good field position after they just grabbed the lead. It's a scrum. It's a scrum. 3 officials in there to establish who has the ball. Miles Price fumbled at the 22-23 Ravens ball. We're -3 in the takeover. Are you kidding me? Are you kidding me?
Could have been -4.
The next kickoff.
Fumbled the next kickoff.
It was crazy. He fumbled it, and then the next guy
picked it up.
fumbled
I can't remember who picked it up.
Yeah.
I'm stunned we got that one back. That would have obviously been a killer. So yeah, you're in that goofy zone with Price because you do not want to discourage the kind of weapon that he's already proven that he can be. So you got to ride it out, I guess. I don't think you can bench him because he's seems to be a really good return man. But again, if I tried with a straight face to pick the Vikings to beat the Ravens, you're not going to give yourself much of a chance, whatever you think of the relative strengths of the two teams, if you're down 0-3, right, in the takeaways. That's just not
no chance.
Going to be very realistic.
And they scored on all 3.
They did score all
right,
3.
13 points.
Well, that's the other reason I thought early that the Vikings were in good shape because the Ravens had to keep settling for field goals. And the way the game's supposed to be played is, well, eventually that's going to catch up with them, right? That they're having to settle for 3 points. But our offense wasn't good enough to make them pay for any of that. It wasn't consistent enough. It wasn't good enough. And where it was good enough, we didn't even bother to use it as it pertains to the ground game as well. So we continue to be in last place in the division. The Lions recovered, perhaps as expected, from losing to us last week. They just toyed with the Washington Commanders, who were without their number 1 quarterback. They scored in the 40s, didn't they, the Lions?
I think it was 44-22 was the final.
They were clinical offensively. In a way that we did not allow them to the week before. And then you've got the Packers tonight hosting the Eagles. They tell me it's going to be bear weather at Lambeau. I think in the 30s with a lot of wind.
The ESPN crew looks chilly.
Is there any precip? Because Chicago area, there's parts of Chicago area in Kenosha, Wisconsin, just got obliterated with snow. They had a clipper come through, and they got a lot of snow. My sister, the coach, originally told me they were supposed to get a foot, but I think it ended up staying closer to the lake than she is. So I don't know if they ended up getting all that much in lovely Barrington, Illinois.
Just clouds tonight in Green Bay with the low around 23.
So chilly. That's chilly.
Very cold.
For early November.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's chilly.
They may get some snow tomorrow, but nothing tonight.
Bears, as we talked about with Leber, I don't know what to say about them. I've been disparaging them maybe too much on the basis of who they're playing. But, the Giants are up 10 driving right down the field with the kid quarterback. And he's I want to say he'd gotten a first down to like the 20 on an end, like a running, a kind of a bootleg around the left side. But then he was reckless with the ball. He fumbles the ball, gets hit pretty hard, fumbles the ball, and the Bears recover. That's what changed the game. The Giants were on the verge of going up 17 or 13 if they have to settle for a field goal. And ultimately, the Bears did get 2 touchdowns. So maybe they would have won anyway. I don't know. But the momentum of the whole game switched at that point. And as exasperating as Caleb can be, as inconsistent as he can be in terms of putting the ball on the receiver, in this case, I think they had 7 dropped passes.
Wow.
Their offensive line did not protect the QB at all. And this is one of those games where you got to give Williams credit that he won it almost on his own by his escapability, making some plays. Then ultimately, the game-winning touchdown was him scrambling around left end when I think like 25 yards, something like that. So,
and the Giants have seen enough. They relieved Brian Daboll.
They got rid of that. They did. That
his
was
coaching duties.
You could see it in his face.
Yeah.
I'm actually, when I was watching the game, he had one of those like oversized Belichick hoodies, and the hood was up.
Yeah.
He made it seem like it was like the wind chill was minus 30. And
kind of looks like Larry the Cable Guy while he's wearing it.
A little bit, yeah. That's true. But the look on his face, I really felt was, I'm done. I'm not going to recover from this. You could sense it. And that indeed was the case. So, as Leber said, I don't know. I mean, if you keep winning, you start gaining some confidence. Because remember, the Bears started strong last year. Then they had that mess in Washington and never recovered. They were one of the worst teams, record-wise. They ended up being one of the worst teams in the league. And so you got to give the new coach credit for something. Something is kicking in regarding what their clutch offense lately is clearly improved over what it was. And by the way, they can run the damn ball. They got their second string running back. I can't even pronounce. Is it the Mahanga? No, I can't remember.
Kyle Monangai?
Monangai, that's his name. Very good. I was going to say, what's the river where Pittsburgh is?
Oh, yeah. What is that river?
Monongahela? I think that's what I thought his name was. He's surprisingly effective.
He's a good
then
back.
Swift, who I gave up on, and the Lions gave up on, he looks reborn. He's been really, really good this year. And by the way, 3rd and 7 or 2nd and 10 can be a running call for them. And not all teams are built the same way, but I honestly believe we have a coach who doesn't understand that it is legal on 2nd and 10 to hand the ball off. Because the thinking isn't that you're going to get all 10 realistically, but what if you get 6?
Right.
It's the old 3rd and makeable kind of a thing. There's nothing wrong with, having the difference on a 2nd and 10, giving the defense something to think about. It had to be as predictable as hell for the Ravens. And you heard Bursich earlier via the talking points say, well, the way they're playing defense, you can't forget the running game, the way their secondary is set up. By the way, who's the safety that we passed on that we could have gotten and the year we moved down?
Yeah, for Lewis
to get
Kyle Hamilton.
Oh my God!
Yeah, I know.
What a player!
I know.
What
Kwesi,
a player!
Does Kwesi even watch the game yesterday?
If I were him, I'd have a hard time doing it. I admit, because there'd be a lot of self-loathing. There'd have to be after that. I mean, that's just that guy is he's a big time football player.
And all we had to do was take him. He would have been available.
Yeah. You have to mess with.
But we traded down 57 spots
to get 6 extra picks, which we've squandered most of those too, I think.
And unfortunately for Lewis Seen, he's not with us anymore.
Is he in the league? Can't remember.
I think he is. I think we played him.
Yeah,
but
that might be
I can't say he's on anybody's fantasy team.
The aviation industry is kind of a mess right now. A lot of flights postponed, canceled, whatever the case may be. Very special guest, Kyle Potter of Thrifty Traveler, MN.com, is going to join us next to kind of update us on how upset the industry is, what the average Rubes, I guess alternatives are, what their rights are if they get caught in the middle of a flight that's been canceled because there have been a lot of cutbacks. How quickly might the system get back to 100% once, if as expected, the shutdown is over? We'll get to all of those things and more with Kyle Potter. That is coming up next here in The Fan.
for the Vikings Report on The Fan, presented by Miller Lite. Vikings wide receiver Adam Thielen joins Dan Barrero next.
Vikings conversation today, as we always do on a Monday, and there'll be time later this hour and into the 6 o'clock half hour to revisit more Vikings talking points. But every once in a while, a story comes along that I think, given our listenership, that includes, I think, a lot of people that move around the area, move around the country, in some cases move around the world, generally using air travel, that we didn't want to keep putting off what Garzi had reminded me last week to get to with Kyle Potter, Thrifty Traveler guy. In fact, yesterday, and he'll probably appreciate this, I had several texts from people saying, when are you going to have him on? So you are in the public KFAN bumper-to-bumper / Sunday sermons consciousness. That can't be all bad, correct?
No, I'm curious. I'm glad you clarified that you've got a lot of people who are traveling around the world on aircraft, because I'm curious how many are traveling via steam vessel.
That's a great point. Well, you know me. I'm a throwback. I'm a throwback. I'm a romantic guy who, wishes I could have taken a boat across the pond to Europe or something, which I guess you still can if you want to, right? Or does that not even exist anymore?
There's no time like the present, and to Garzi's point, that might be the best bet right now.
Well, you're right. Exactly it. All right. So tell us, give me all your best analytics on the percentage of flights that are basically just going away. What this weekend has been like. Is it dogs and cats living together, open chaos, not quite as bad as that? How would you describe the current scene during this shutdown period that allegedly is about to end?
So I'll put it this way. Yesterday, Sunday, was one of the worst days in air travel that we've had in the last 2+ years. There were nearly 3,000 flights nationwide canceled and more than 10,000 delayed. Today isn't looking a whole lot better than that. The final numbers might finish out a little bit better, but not by a whole lot. We're still in this is everything hitting the fan basically all at once. And I think most importantly, every time I've come on and we've talked about air travel melting down, it has generally speaking been one airline. It was Delta last summer as a result of the CrowdStrike outage in July of 2024. It was Southwest in, winter, Christmas 2022 into early 2023. And this time it is everyone. Everyone is struggling. Some airlines are struggling more than others to try to catch up and get planes moving. But there really isn't a safe haven here. Everybody is struggling, which means, if you're traveling on a plane, your odds are perhaps greater than they've ever been that you're not going to get where you need to go on time, if at all.
So, maybe I can introduce this next subject with a text from 612 guy who asks you, he claims he can't find the answer anyplace else. I've got a kid flying home from Hartford in 2 weeks for Thanksgiving. Will this mess be fixed by then? Is it specifically departures from MSP or both departures and arrivals?
Well, it's everything, and I will admit, 612 guy, I don't know if the Delta nonstops to Hartford were on the list of federally mandated cuts. I think the question on everyone's mind is this going to drag into Thanksgiving? And I think the good-ish news is that if the deal in Congress moves through at some point this week, we should be past the worst of it, but I do think we're still going to continue to see lingering problems with air travel for probably at least a couple of weeks. Nothing on the scale of what I just talked about, Sunday and again today. I hope, knock on wood. But, the Department of Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy said over the weekend that in normal times, pre-shutdown, the FAA would lose, somewhere around 4 air traffic controllers a day to retirement, career changes, whatever. And over the past few days, that's been more like 15 or 20. And, oh, by the way, all hiring, recruiting, and training of new air traffic controllers has been paused for the last 40-plus days, which means, and the way that Secretary Duffy put this is that this is going to have impacts that last far beyond whenever the government reopens. Now, again, I don't want people to think this means it's going to be pure chaos over Thanksgiving, but that is the single busiest travel period of the year typically. And I don't want people to think that it's going to be completely smooth sailing in a couple of weeks, because all signs are pointing to there being some lingering issues with travel disruptions, especially when things get really busy.
All right. So what are the rights of the average rube under these circumstances?
Really not much. Air travelers in the United States don't have much in the way of rights when things go wrong in air travel, especially when it's not the fault of the airline and it is something like a work shortage for the FAA, as we're seeing now, or weather. We've all been in those situations where there's been a bad storm and you get stuck somewhere overnight and you try to get something from the airline and they tell you to pound sand. And that's what's going to happen here. The one right that we really have that does come in handy now is that when an airline cancels your flight for whatever reason, including weather, including FAA federal government issues driven by a 40-day shutdown, you can cancel your entire reservation and get a refund, not just a credit that might expire in a year or less, but actually get your money back, which means if you're traveling this week and things aren't looking good and you're happy to say, you know what, I don't need to take this trip, I can try again later this year or sometime next year, you can cancel that flight altogether and get a refund back to your original form of payment. And that's kind of it. It's not nothing, but it's there.
So do you have to be proactive? If you decide I'm going to roll the dice and then I'm going to get to that point and I'm going to be told, I don't know how, if it's that day, you learn that flight's been canceled. At that point, do you have that same alternative, or do you just have to live with the credit at that point?
No, you do still have that option. You can really play it up to, day of, hour of your originally scheduled departure. And if that flight does ultimately get canceled or significantly delayed, which the Department of Transportation defines as a delay domestically of 3 or more hours, same rights kick in. You can cancel that entire reservation for a full refund. And one interesting element that I think speaks to the kind of trouble that airlines are in trying to keep up in all of this mess is that all of the major airlines have come out and said, yes, of course, if we cancel your flight, we'll give you a refund, which I will note is something that they have not been so forthcoming about, especially when they were canceling flights by the thousands in the early days of the pandemic. But they are now saying that, if you're scheduled to travel at least through this week, even if your flight hasn't been canceled or affected by these disruptions explicitly, they will allow you to just call in or text in or go in and manage your reservation and cancel your flight for a full refund, because they're just trying to get as many people out of seats as possible so they can get away with flying less than they normally would.
So it doesn't matter if when you originally booked it, it was called non-refundable. That doesn't have any impact given this circumstance?
Exactly. Even if you booked the cheapest basic economy flight for $79 to Pittsburgh, you can still cancel for a full refund.
That's good to know. 612 guy wants to know if Amtrak, depending, I guess, on where you're going, might be a legitimate alternative. That may sound good in theory, but can be complicated, and where you're headed and all that kind of stuff, right?
Right. Well, and, I'll say, I think a lot of people are asking that question. We got some data from the aviation analytics company Cirium today that shows that they have started to see a slowdown in how many people are booking flights for Thanksgiving week, which means, I think a lot of people are asking that question. Should I take the train if that's an option? Should I just hop in the car and drive for 6-7 hours when I would rather fly for, an hour and a half or less? But when things are looking as uncertain as they are right now, I can't blame them.
We keep hearing that we're on the verge of finally having a breakthrough, and that the shutdown is probably going to end, although I think nothing is certain until it is certain. But every indication seems to be that it's going to take a while, right? That even if there is a breakthrough there, it's not like then we snap our fingers and everything is back to 100%, correct?
Exactly. And there's a few reasons for that. One, most importantly, is, we've got a now smaller air traffic control workforce, apparently, than we had going into the shutdown. And those people aren't going to, those offices, those facilities across the country that have been so hamstrung for the last week and change are not going to be back up to 100% as soon as a bill gets signed, right? It's going to take time to get those people back in those seats. Two is that, the airlines are clearly struggling to keep up. That's what we saw really start to spiral out of control over the weekend, is that, Delta, for example, on Sunday, canceled or delayed 54% of its flights nationwide on Sunday. That's really bad. Yeah. That is so far beyond the 4% FAA mandated reductions that the federal government put in place in order to try to keep planes moving on time and safely across the country. And then finally, that 4% reduction that the FAA put in place starting late last week is going to start to scale up. It goes up to 6% tomorrow, and then by Friday it goes up to 10%. And Secretary Duffy said today that even if the shutdown ends, that's not going to change immediately, that it's going to take time for them to assess the data and say, yes, okay, we can justify bringing, air traffic back up to 100%. So all of these things are really playing against the airlines and trying to get things moving reliably. And it's going to take time for them to get back there.
So what accounts for the 54% stat that you gave?
The biggest thing is, and this is the thing, when an airline starts to melt down, it's never just one thing. So in the case of Delta, there are these, these FAA mandated reductions, which I think put every airline in the country on its heels. You need to rework your schedules to accommodate those cuts. And, that crew that you were banking on flying from Minneapolis to Denver so that it could fly onward from Denver to Seattle, if one of those legs gets cut, you got to rework everything on the fly. So that automatically puts you at a disadvantage. And then over the weekend down in Seattle, which, the old joke is that everything for Delta moves through Atlanta, right? There was some really bad weather, and then there were 5+ hour delays getting off the ground in Atlanta, which again sets your entire operation back. And so it all ends up in this kind of ugly snowball effect where an airline struggles to keep things moving. They start running out of crew, trying to keep the airline running on time to rescue flights that otherwise might be stuck or stranded or delayed. And it all leads to, a pretty nasty day. And again, today is for Delta looking a little bit better, but it's still pretty bad.
Kyle Potter is the editor of Thrifty Traveler and joins us pretty much every time we get into these sorts of crises, which unfortunately seem not been that often lately, but this is obviously a big one. A couple texts I want to get your reaction to. This is from, looks like, 702 guy. 702. As a former air traffic controller, I can tell you that the United States is the only one of the Western nations where the government runs air traffic control. Every other nation is privatized. I think we've talked about this before. Where are we on that whole process? Are we any closer to that taking place? Would that be the best solution moving forward, or is it more complicated than that in your mind?
I don't know. I know I'm not smart enough to answer that question intelligently. I do think this will probably result in having more of those conversations at the federal level, right? But also,
you do. I think there is an element of the devil, that replacing the entire system by which you run air traffic control and run our nation's airspace is a really tough sell when there are a lot of other problems to solve. So I don't know. I know President Trump talked about today, again, for the latest time, more ways to modernize air traffic control technology. That is obviously, those conversations are obviously going to continue. But in terms of, the idea of privatizing air traffic control, I mean, I feel like we talk about that once a year, once every 2 years, and then these stories disappear from the headlines and everybody moves on. So I don't know whether that's any more truly likely than it was, just a couple of weeks ago.
A 612 guy asked in a good, I think, follow-up question. He's mentioning he's got a trip to D.C. planned this weekend, including flight and hotel. If his flight is canceled, does he have any recourse with hotel reservations? Because I think some hotels demand a certain amount of money ahead of time, and maybe there's some stuff that's non-refundable. How does that work, or how would that work in that sort of scenario?
You're really going to have to handle these things on a case-by-case basis. We have seen some of the major hotel chains come out and say, if your travels are affected by these disruptions, we will refund your reservation. So that's a possibility, to either look into it with the hotel chain or at the property itself. The other possible recourse here is travel insurance, whether it's something you buy separately, whether you add it on to your flight reservation, whether you booked on a good travel credit card that has these things built in. But we're very clearly learning. We learned last week that a lot of these policies either have terms written into the fine print, or the fine print is so vague that there's a lot of wiggle room for the insurers to actually deny claims that are a result of disruption stemming from federal workforce, air traffic control, and any umbrella term that you can come up with. So I don't want to discourage anyone from fighting for reimbursement, because they absolutely should, regardless of what the policy says. But I think everybody who is in that situation of they get stuck somewhere overnight and they need to pay for a hotel, or they aren't able to make the trip and they're trying to recoup some of those costs, I think everybody is probably going to need to prepare for a fight in order to try to get some of that money back.
Last question from the audience. This is, I think, a call or a text out of Randy, in fact, in Duluth. He says that he and his wife are flying from Minneapolis, St. Paul to JFK to Athens, Greece on the 14th of this month. What should be our biggest concern? Security lines, air traffic control, etc. We have not talked much about that. Are security lines out of control through this period, or what would someone in Randy's position have to be most concerned with?
The security lines has been, I will say, a surprise in that it hasn't been worse. And maybe that's just a reflection of the fact that air traffic control and flight disruptions have been so bad that it's overshadowed issues at TSA checkpoints. I mean, I think for Randy, the biggest thing is just making sure that you get to JFK. Fortunately, the long-haul international operations have been pretty much spared by these reductions and disruptions as airlines have struggled to keep things moving. The same isn't true for a flight from JFK to London or Athens. But you got to get to JFK first. And so, I would say if you are booked on the same ticket, meaning, you're flying from Minneapolis to JFK and JFK to Athens, fortunately, Delta or whichever airline you're flying with is responsible for getting you all the way to Athens. Even if, your first flight to New York City gets canceled or delayed, they'll put you on the next available one. But I would say, the best thing anybody can do right now, especially if they're trying to make a connection, is to take the first flight of the day. So, even if it's going to be a brutal wake-up time, getting to the Duluth airport down to Minneapolis and onward to Athens or onward to New York, that 6 or 7 a.m. departure, getting on that flight, changing your flight if you can, is going to be one of the best things that you can do just for peace of mind.
Thank you for the intel, as always. We appreciate it. And why don't you give folks an opportunity to maybe learn a little bit more about Thrifty Traveler?
Yeah, well, right now our whole team is really just laser focused on helping people out here, whether it's, figuring out what they can do if they're flying in the days to come or asking the questions of, is this going to extend into Thanksgiving? So thriftytraveler.com, we're writing about these things every single day, writing about travel insurance policies, all of the ins and outs of what you need to know to try to get where you need to go on time. And then beyond that, we send our paying members who sign up for our premium service some really great cheap fare alerts from their home airports, including here in Minneapolis, but 200 plus across the country and in the United States, both cheap domestic and international airfare alerts, as well as deals to use those credit card points and airline miles.
Invaluable stuff. Thanks, my friend. It's always good to chat with you, Kyle.
One of these times we'll get to talk about something fun, but today is not that day.
Today is definitely not that day. Thanks again. Have a good week.
Yeah, you too.
I appreciate it. Kyle Potter, editor, Thrifty Traveler, with a lot, I think, of really helpful info and intel as well. Vikings lost yesterday. I don't know how many of you know that. Maybe you weren't paying attention. Maybe I should have offered up a spoiler alert because you had taped the game you're going to watch tonight. Well, cat's out of the bag. I got at least one more Vikings talking point as we get back to a very disappointing afternoon at the People's Stadium in downtown Minneapolis yesterday. Stay tuned.
And now, famous moments in a
kick-ass offense.
27-13 Ravens. False start McCarthy. That's number 6. You've got to be kidding me with this.
False start. Offense number 75. It's a 5-yard penalty. It's 4th down.
Join us again for another famous moment in a
kick-ass offense.
From us, from just pounding away at a disappointing 27-19 loss. There were a couple of nice things that happened at the People's Stadium yesterday. It sure started out awfully encouraging, didn't it?
McCarthy, empty backfield. He's out of the shotgun. 3 receivers right, 2 to the left. Hawkinson and Jones to the left. The Ravens show blitz from the left of McCarthy. Then they back off. Actually, it's a 3-man rush. And McCarthy fires right, caught Jefferson at the 22, runs out of bounds at the 23. It's a 10-yard hit and a first down for the Vikings. Pete, they only rushed 3 guys. One got through and hit JJ.
That's Kyle Hamilton just doing it's a 3-man stunt, just trying to get everyone to pass that thing off. But great job by JJ McCarthy recognizing the coverage and putting that football out there before JJ was even in his break. That football was on its way. So that was great anticipation by McCarthy.
McCarthy wearing the 9, facing a 4-man rush. He's going to fade left to Jalen Naylor, caught at the 40, and a Raven blew a tackle. Stiff arm by Naylor at the 30. Bulldogs to the 20, Vikings to the 10, down at the 5. A 62-yard catch and run by the speedy Jalen Naylor.
What a huge play for J.J. McCarthy, Paul. He lines up in empty, sees man across the board, knowing he's going to get pressure up the middle.
Of course it's
knows
empty.
He's going to get Jalen Naylor without any help from the free safety, and delivered a beautiful fade down the sideline. And you know it's a great fade when Naylor, after catching it, has the ability to make a move and make a couple people miss. So just an explosive play. And for McCarthy, it's important because when defenses want to roll up and they want to blitz you, you got to make them pay. You got to burn them. The Ravens are going to think twice about blitzing J.J. McCarthy after that one.
So promising. But as we've learned how many times, you can't go Harvey Keitel on the bit too soon. You have to let a game play out. It's what the best teams do. It's why the best teams don't panic early. Ravens have been through their head coach Harbaugh has been through this a million times.
Like 18 years?
Exactly.
He's like 50-20 against like rookie quarterbacks or first-year quarterbacks. Some crazy number.
And I think now the number for Jackson, for Lamar against NFC teams is 25-3. Counting yesterday's game, 25-3. That's a pretty good mark. But it did start well. And I liked what the Vikings did early defensively. I didn't think the Ravens looked all that motivated. They didn't look that. It just didn't feel like they were ready to start the game, and it looked like the Vikings were ready to start the game. But you got to be able to start the game, and you have to be able to finish the ball game as well. Interesting question offered by 612 guy. Back in the days of the famous bumper-to-bumper poll questions, this might have been one.
Oh, yeah. Those were days.
What has a better chance of happening? The Twins increasing payroll or KOC running the ball on 3rd and 1?
We know it's not good baseball.
I think it might be the Twins increasing payroll.
Wow,
You think that's
we've got 40 years of... KOC's only in year 4. But I understand the sentiment.
He just doesn't like running it. I don't understand why. I do understand why. I think we've got him pegged in this regard. He's one of those aesthetic guys, but
that's what's so maddening about it. The run is aesthetically pleasing the way that they do it.
It should be.
They have some beautiful runs.
Should be. I mean, maybe I'm too throwback because I love a good run. I do. I like I said, we all live in this world now where 2nd and 10 has to be a run. And again, depending on the team, 49ers don't feel like they have to run on 2nd and 10. Do they? The Ravens don't feel like they have to, or should pass. I should say pass on 2nd and 10. I know that the Ravens feel like they have to pass on 2nd and 10. Eagles don't feel like they have to pass on 2nd and 10. The Bears, with Ben Johnson, he proved it with the Lions last year. Same this year in Chicago. He might view 2nd and 10 as a running down if you have enough faith in your running game. And you don't lose your mind if you don't get it. But when we're throwing the number of incompletions, and again, be careful, McBobos. I'm not saying that means I'm giving up on J.J. McCarthy. It's just a fact that right now he's throwing a lot of incompletions. You make the argument that a run actually makes more sense. Because if you pass on 2nd and 10 and it's an incomplete pass, what's that? 3rd and 10.
3rd and long.
And 3rd and long. And if you run, maybe it's going to be 2nd and 6. Or 3rd and 6, I should say. Maybe it's going to be 3rd and 2. If you break one, perish the thought, maybe it'll be a first down. So I don't know. Well, might as well get to one more. This one is named lovingly for Mike Tice. We call it Live by the Dog, Die by the Dog. We'll explain after.
Jackson out of the shotgun. Hit! And he is sacked!
Oh, man, they're going to...
Flag came in late. Dallas Turner with the sack, and he smashed Lamar Jackson back at the 36. But
they're going to get Dallas Turner for roughing the passer.
Roughing the passer.
Really?
Defense number 15, body weight. It's a 15 penalty, automatic first down.
Well,
that's what they're going to call that. I mean, they're going to protect the quarterback. I've seen
Dallas Turner in no way thrust or pushed or tried to harm that young man.
No, not at all. Not at all. I mean, it's just the way the league is now. I mean, they're going to protect the quarterbacks. We had one called last week on J.J. McCarthy that was probably somewhere in that ballpark. So it's just it's kind of a shame in that regard that was a great play by Dallas Turner. He was the penetrator on a looping stunt and came free, and the acceleration of the quarterback. I mean, it's just too bad that they got to tack that on. I mean, because that was a huge play.
You and Ben played linebacker for many years in the NFL. If you were teaching a front side form tackle, tell me you wouldn't teach what you just saw from Dallas Turner.
I don't know I wouldn't know what to tell him. Honest to God, it's like you're unblocked. You got a running start. I mean, what else can you do?
Bursic is 100% right. Bursic called it that I hate the call I hated it when it was when we got the 15 yards a week ago.
Last week. Even Pereira came on and said, I know everybody hates it. I hate it. We hate it. Burkhardt was bitter. Brady was bitter. But that's the rule. It is a bad rule.
It's the reality is that all you really have to do, I think, is half fake going to the side a little bit, and they're probably not going to make that call. And again, we can't get high and mighty about it going against us this week when we received the very same call, I think a key situation, the week before. And it was the exact same deal where there was it wasn't like the player, the quarterback was ground into the ground, but if you land fully and you don't find some way, even though I think it's unfair to expect it of a defensive player and unnatural to expect of a defensive player, to sort of roll to the side a little bit, they're going to call it. It's just the way it works. By the way, I rarely see that same sort of sack called roughing the passer in college. Is the rule by letter different?
I think it has to be.
Different?
I think
or
it must
is it
be.
We just give more license to kids because they're kids?
I don't think they have the body weight rule in college.
Okay, yeah.
Grimm would know if he's listening. He knows every rule.
And maybe it's the old, we got to protect pro investments. You know,
I think that's what it is.
That's probably a lot of it. And again, I don't think there's a fairness to it because, like I said, how do you?
It was a perfect tackle.
How do you? Yeah, it's like.
And then you got to turn.
Here's the way I want to do it. I'm worried that if I turn too soon, what if he gets away?
Right.
And that's why, to me, I don't know what the answer is. But I think it's 100% unfair to the defender, but that's the way now it tends to be called, and it was called to our favor, the very same call the week before.
Can't hit him high, can't hit him low, and can't hit him perfectly in the midsection and have your weight on top of his weight. That's the tough part about being a defensive player. That's why at the end, Bursa said, I don't know what you tell him. Because what people also forget is how fast this thing is moving.
Yeah, oh yeah, no question.
Dallas Turner comes free.
Yes.
He's got a free shot at Lamar Jackson. He's got a fire on it. He's got to go. And in that 10th of a second, you're asking him to then also, by the way, can you turn a little bit so all your weight doesn't go on it? It's just none of it makes any sense.
No, none of it.
It sounds good on slow motion. But yeah, you can turn a little bit. It's not a good rule. I almost think they have to get rid of it.
Well, they might. I don't know if there's any movement for that. That's a subject we can explore with officiating guy Kevin Seifert, because he's had to cover that part of National Football League for many, many years. All right, let's wrap up the program. We'll remind you of, we'll kind of try to summarize what we think we learned today and prepare you for tomorrow's program as well. That's next here in the Fan.
And now, famous moments in a
kick-ass offense.
Justin Jefferson, slot left. TJ Hawkinson, inside slot left.
Oh, here we go.
This is our 7th false start in one game.
False start. Offense number 75.
In one
It's
game.
a 5-yard penalty. It's third down.
Join us again for another famous moment in a
Kick-ass offense.
Show wrap presented by American Pressure, commercial grade pressure washer since 1975.
It's the Bumper to Bumper Show Wrap.
Thank you to Adam Thielen, who joined at 3:30, Johnny Athletic at 4, Ben Leber about 4:50-ish, and Thrifty Traveler guy Kyle Potter to change the subject, albeit briefly, at about 5:30. But we do have a lot of people who travel and a lot of people curious about the state of air travel in the United States of America right now. And the picture, what was more bleak, the picture that Kyle Potter laid out or the current condition of your favorite football team after losing yet again at home? Tough call.
Well, how about this for a toss-up? Which gets better by Thanksgiving?
Ooh.
The Vikings or the travel situation? That's what everybody's thinking about, right?
Might be the travel situation.
Thanksgiving, traveling, people are going places.
Is it 2 weeks off? Is it 2 weeks from Thursday? I'm bad on the, or is it 3 weeks from Thursday? What's the date today? Yeah, it's got to be 2 weeks from this Thursday. Today's the 10th, right? Thanksgiving's got to be 2 weeks from this Thursday.
Yeah, it's Thanksgiving's the 27th, so that would be 2 weeks from this Thursday.
Right around the corner. You got a big week, though. You're headed west, right? When are you out Thursday and Friday?
Yes.
I figured. You got to prepare for the Ducks Friday night.
Well, now I can't get there on my own. Like, I got to go with the team. You know?
Oh, is that right?
Well, there's times where I go on my own,
Yes.
to not miss as much work.
Have you booked anything already?
No.
Oh, okay. So this is probably working out better.
Eugene is a unique one to get to.
That makes sense. And heck of a barn burner between the Hawkeyes and the Ducks in duck weather. Basically, right? A lot of rain.
The back-to-back, your club
that was a
and
nice
Penn State into Iowa and Oregon was
nice ball games.
That's what Kevin Warren dreamed of with the TV windows, right?
True.
Like
You're
go
right.
right into Fox to CBS.
Yeah.
Really, really compelling games, great finishes.
Very true. Tonight, after Vikings Rewind here on the Fan, we got more Wolves action. We're playing Utah again, this time on the road. I think our coverage will begin at 7:45 tonight, right here on the flagship, and then via the Timberwolves channel as well. We were going to play a good team again. We're doing better.
Yeah.
We're building something, but I want to see us.
No, it's this
play
game
somebody.
and then the Kings on Friday.
Really?
Yeah. We'll probably have Mike Conley later this week as well.
Fatten up on the schedule. That's all. That's good too. Tomorrow is Kevin Seifert Day. It's also Luigi Day. And who knows what else. Thanks for watching today. Thanks for texting, and thank you for listening. We will talk to you tomorrow at 3.